This horrifying incident takes us to Alligator Head, a known coastal landmark located at the west end of La Jolla Cove in San Diego, California. Robert Pamperin was freediving in the deep waters of Alligator Head with his friend Gerard. Suddenly, a large great white shark emerged underwater. In a blink of an eye, what was supposed to be a calm diving session between two friends turned into a horrible nightmare. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying shark attack that resulted in Robert Pamperin being swallowed whole. Welcome to Final Affliction. One of La Jolla's most well-known tourist destinations is La Jolla Cove, a small cove surrounded by high rocky cliffs. It has become an excellent location for scuba diving, swimming, and snorkeling thanks to its wealth of marine life and colder, crystal-clear water. Additionally, the water visibility here can sometimes exceed 30 feet, enticing divers to gather from all corners of Southern California. Large and powerful swells from the open ocean can occasionally come in. At high tides, there's only a tiny patch of dry sand on the beach, but the cove's tide pools are exposed at shallow tides. But amidst the popularity and beauty of the cove lay a dark past. In June 1959, one of the most horrific shark attacks in San Diego, California, occurred in Alligator Head, just a short ways off of La Jolla Cove. It was June 14, 1959. While most people were happy to sleep the day off, Robert Pamperin was awake early on a Sunday. Peeking through his windows, he noticed that the weather was slightly not in his favor. It was a bad day to be in the ocean. However, Robert and his friend Gerard had planned for this day for quite a while. They were planning on hunting for abalone later in the day. Abalones are huge marine gastropod mollusks. The chilly waters of New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Japan, and the west coast of North America are where the huge sea snail is most frequently observed. Abalones are regarded for their exquisite meat and extraordinarily deep flavor, making them a culinary delicacy. It is one of the most expensive types of seafood available, and it can be sold at a high price, either canned, frozen, or live in the shell. Robert and Gerard were hoping to sell some of their catch for a reasonable price, knowing there was a thriving abalone population in the deeper parts of Alligator Head. However, abalones are typically nocturnal animals. They like staying away from lit areas by hiding in the dark during the daytime and feeding at night. This means Robert and Gerard had to go through with the hunting later in the day. To help fill the time in the afternoon, the two friends decided to take their girlfriends to the beach. The plan was while the girls were sunbathing at the shore, Robert and Gerard would leave to hunt at Alligator Head. Robert prepared for the day like any other. He made breakfast and listened to the news, not realizing that today's calm, cloudy day would take a nightmarish turn. Hunting abalone is actually quite taxing to the body, as it requires a lot of movement, so Robert would be freediving later on. He prepared minimal equipment, a pair of blue swim fins, a pink bathing suit, a black mask, black diving gloves, and a yellow-handled abalone iron, a tool used to extract abalone from rocks without harming them. He also brought with him a black inner tube with an attached burlap sack. After Robert and his girlfriend finished preparing everything, they got into their car and made their way to the beach at La Jolla Cove. The sun was still overcast, but every now and again it would peek through the clouds. The outing could have been easily canceled, but there was no stopping Robert and Gerard. Arriving at the beach, Robert parked his car and met with Gerard and his girlfriend. The two shook hands and shared laughs. They talked about the weather and, of course, the hunt later. Meanwhile, their girlfriends caught up with one another. The four headed straight for the beach and spent time like they normally would. They had a front row seat for the beautiful San Diego ocean after all. Who wouldn't want to enjoy a nice, relaxing Sunday like this? Around 5 p.m., Robert and Gerard gathered their equipment from their parked vehicles and headed towards Alligator Head. The weather was still overcast, and the two men could only see through 7 meters of water underneath them. Not exactly an ideal day for hunting abalone. However, it was time to dive into the water. The two men donned their masks, fins, and gloves. They headed straight for the water. The men were experienced swimmers and divers, so they were trained well enough to understand the risks of entering the ocean. Being an engineer for Convair, an aircraft manufacturer, Robert was nobody's fool. However, what probably gave them confidence was the history of the area. There had been no fatal shark attacks in this area before. In the eyes of the public, it was a safe diving spot. However, that would all soon change. The two men took deep breaths and went into the depths. Swimming slowly across the water, they scanned the area for wild abalone hiding in the crevices and surfaces of rocks at the bottom. Spotting a couple of abalones a few meters down, the two men quickly dove deeper. With one hand holding the iron and the other holding the burlap sack, the two carefully scraped the shelled creatures from their attachments. They were careful not to damage the shells, but they had to do things quickly. After all, there was no air tank to save them from drowning. After gathering a few abalones, the men surfaced and took in a breath of fresh air. Fate must have had other plans that day, because for some reason, the two became separated by the waves. Slowly but surely, Robert and Gerard drifted apart until there were 10 to 15 meters between them. Suddenly, a great white shark appeared underneath Robert. Swinging its formidable head back and forth, it was sizing up Robert, thinking it was one of its prey. And then it happened. The shark went in for the kill, and the water exploded into chaos. Opening its massive jaws, the creature was able to devour Robert's entire lower body, forcing him unnaturally higher out of the surface. Robert screamed desperately, "Help me!" Gerard quickly whipped in the direction of his friend. He saw Robert in distress but thought he might be having a cramp. Nevertheless, Gerard rushed to his friend's aid. However, something was not right. Gerard noticed that Robert suddenly disappeared into the waters, leaving behind a crimson mist of blood. Startled and in complete disbelief, Gerard plunged deeper into the water to really see what was happening to Robert. And there it was, in plain and perfect view, a large great white shark completely devouring Robert's lower body. Gerard estimated the creature to be around 7 meters in length. Robert thrashed wildly, trying to free himself from the marauding beast. However, it was to no avail. The shark's power overwhelmed him, and it quickly took him to deep waters. Gerard took a deep breath and quickly rushed towards the commotion, waving his hands frantically at the shark in an attempt to scare it away. However, it was to no avail. The shark's jaws were clamped shut on Robert's lower body, his legs inside the creature's jaws. Suddenly, the massive shark began swinging its head from side to side, trying to tear Robert in half. Realizing he wasn't doing anything to the creature, Gerard swam back to the shore, alerting the lifeguards, who then alerted the local authorities of the attack. Immediately after Robert's attack, 10 experienced scuba divers dove into the area, searching for Robert. However, after combing the waters for 2 hours, they ended up with nothing, not even Robert's clothing or gear. However, a few days later, a swim fin marked with rows of shark teeth washed ashore on the La Jolla beach. Upon inspection, authorities discovered the written initials of Robert. In the subsequent investigations, people were skeptical of Gerard. However, his statement was supported by William Abbott, who was atop a rock formation when the attack happened. His testimony was congruent with Gerard's. However, people were still skeptical that it was a great white shark that attacked Robert. They wanted to believe it was a killer whale, but Gerard was sure he saw a great white. Investigations revealed 4 crucial events happening beforehand that may have contributed to Robert's gruesome fate. Firstly, divers were spearing yellowtail less than 2 hours before the attack. Sharks are reported to be attracted to speared fish and the low-frequency vibrations of the commotion. Secondly, hours before the attack, a U.S. Navy sailor had badly lacerated himself in the adjacent rocks. Consequently, he lost a lot of blood while he was in the water, further attracting the shark into the area. Thirdly, approximately 600 meters to the west of the cove were a group of harbor seals perched by the rocks. The fourth reason is probably the most contributory to the attack. The night before the attack, a dead whale washed 800 meters ashore to the north of where Robert was attacked. The whale's bodily fluids might have been too widely disseminated by surface currents and winds. This may have drawn unwanted attention from the shark, ultimately causing the gruesome fate of Robert. In November of 1960, more than a year after Robert's attack, geologists were able to recover the skeleton of a man at the bottom of Submarine Canyon, 650 yards off of La Jolla. The coroner examined the skeleton and concluded it fits Robert's description. It was undoubtedly a tragedy what happened to Robert. We can all agree, whether you're an experienced diver or swimmer, things outside of your control can directly influence your time in the ocean. You should always keep in mind that when you enter the water, you're entering the beast's territory. You're at their mercy, and growing up to 7 meters in length, it could easily swallow you whole. Even in the waters with no previous shark fatalities, without taking the proper precautions, you could easily end up as the first shark attack victim to meet their unfortunate final affliction.